Green Arrow, the 80th anniversary 100-page super spectacular, which is a tribute book. It's a collection of short stories to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the Queen. DC's been doing it ever since 2018, when it was the 80th anniversary of Superman, and they kept on doing it. They did it for Batman. They did a couple last year with a couple of the side characters like Robin, Catwoman, Joker, and Green Lantern. And surprisingly, they didn't do one for Flash, but here's the Green Arrow one. And I will say this, like, these collection of 12 stories is absolutely well done. Like, some are better than others. It's like two that was like, one was like, okay, I feel like this story's getting a bit dragged on, and then there was another where I didn't understand, like, the ending. But the rest of it is absolutely well done. And then what it is, essentially, it's fun. Like, it's fun stories. And even with like something like the first one, which is called the Disappearing Bandit, which is essentially a throwback to the golden age of comics, so the 40s and the 40s stuff. And of course, I'm so used to, like, my comic book reading has been the modern stuff, which is very like, we're just telling pretty much like a movie in comic form. Well, back in those days, it was the 60s show. It was the 60s Batman show, where everything was like, stop that evildoer, I'll save you, citizen. It was a lot of that. And first reading the Disappearing Bandit, I was like, and it's a bit of a running theme out for the book, where like there's a lot of hint, wink, winks towards it, which you're like, hold on a second. At the beginning, in the 40s, was Oliver Queen just a Batman knockoff? Like, was he basically just like, yeah, I'm Beard Day Playboy, I have my own bat signal, I have but I call it the Arrow signal, I have Arrowmobile, I have my own sidekick, except Robin, he's speedy, I have gadgets like him, trying to think. I have a cave as well. I got an Arrow cave instead of a Bat cave. Ooh, change the words. It's so different. Probably, I also probably painted green, so it's not as bad. The only difference between me and him is I'm more happy-go-lucky, while he's happy to be broody. So there's that, and there's a couple of themes of that. There's a couple of like knockoff jokes about it. And then I joke, I was laughing my head off. Maybe because it's me as a Batman fan. I'm like, yeah, that's right, you Batman knockoff. That's probably in my head, in my mind, that's what probably was coming around. Because in the second story called Punching Evil, Batman shows up, and he does say, it's like, oh, so do you still have your car and your cave and all that? It's like, I was like, yep. Bring it on, Bruce. Bring it on, Bruce. But here's the thing: the Missing Bandit, which is the first one, I was like, okay, this is quick, this is fun, it's a neat read. Even though I like, Oliver, you do not know that you saw the signal. Your chair is on the opposite direction. There's no way you are able to see the big ass green arrow light shining in the sky. There's no way. Roy, yes, you know, because you're busy reading the newspaper. Anyway, so you got Punching Evil, which is the second one, which is I mentioned about the Batman thing. And that one's cool. You got Oliver doing the whole thing of like, I like this girl, aka Black Canary, and so he's doing shit just so he can win her over. And that story is fun because, you have Oliver fighting, because he's all about, well, I shoot arrows, I can just, shoot, maybe an occasional kick or occasional punch, but I don't need to do much. And you have Wildcat, who's training these characters, training these heroes, and he's like, dude, there's going to be times where you might be out of arrows. There's been situations where you need to shoot them. You need to use your fists. You shot them all, or you arrow them, or you're in a situation where shooting it is not an option. And it's a neat one. The one theme is going to be it's fun. Like, even Who Was His Watchtower, because Oliver's a talky character, there's all the little smirks and the little comments that he makes, like him, being the only league member who's kind of like sitting, on babysitting duty on the Watchtower. And he's like, oh, great, be part of the Justice League. It's all gonna be great. We'll fight aliens. You'll be able to fight aliens. All that, not because I'm sitting on my ass, sitting on my ass, just tapping my finger. Maybe I can order some pizza and watch the football on the biggest screen possible on the Watchtower computer. And yes, there's action. I mean, just the fourth one, which is called Just the Usual Sort of Stuff, that's just a massive action sequence where he's talking to Shadow. It's just that one I won't like. That one was fine. That was just like, okay, you're going on the left, you're going on the right. Everything's gonna be good. Yep, right, left, right, okay, and all that. You got the arrow and the song, which I won't lie. At the beginning, I didn't know what it was basically going to be about, because I was like, okay, you got all these poems, you got all these songs. What's the point of it? And it's essentially the life. Here's the life of Oliver Queen in these short songs south, that leads to these really good story, which leads to this really good poem, basically Oliver telling what he has learned in life, what arrows mean to him. Like it means more than just shooting people, all that. That's a really good one. Here's the thing, that's the one thing, these are good. Even like one which is the Connor Queen one, I'm like, I mean, it is him fighting it, but I think it's just because, for me, probably, Green Arrow is Oliver Queen, Oliver Queen is Green Arrow is Oliver Queen, that whole thing. I was like, okay, he's fighting some terrorists and all that kind of stuff. It's neat. I mean, of course, there's a lot of action in this because it's that whole thing. Now, the beautiful one is it's called Green Man and Autumn Sun, which is a story where Roy Harper, after this, I always want to say where that way, but after this, where he is telling the story to his daughter, and basically it's about their relationship with him and Oliver, and how there's how it got displaying, how it bonded and got together, how they're friends, and the differences and the challenges of it. There's a little bit of humor with the whole thing of Roy Harper being a covering drug addict, where the whole thing where he took drugs is like, wait, he told you that? He tells me everything. I wasn't I was not doubting he would tell you that. So you got a little bit of humor there. That was kind of neat. The Star City Star, that one, I won't lie, that was the one I felt dragged. That was just like, okay, we got to the next villain, and the next villain, and the next villain, and the next villain, and the next big action sequence, to the point I didn't really care much about it. The art style was kind of neat. It's clearly a throwback to Justice League Unlimited. With that show's art style, that was kind of neat. Happy Anniversary was neat. I mean, all the stuff doing with with also exploring his relationship with Black Canary was really well done, and mostly so it's you understand why these two characters are a thing, and why they feel so hectic together, and why they feel bonded. Even the point where in the where is it? The hour in the song, there's a point where he asks, "Hey, we've been a thing for so long. Let's get married. Let's have a kid. Let's do that whole thing." And Dinah's kind of like, "But it's been working, There's always that there's that weird thing of the moment there's a kid involved, or the moment we get married, things change in some weird way, and you realize why they needed to be, why they are who they are. It's really well put together, and Happy Anniversary is great. because it's the anniversary. Oliver gets kidnapped by Deathstroke, and Dinah thinks it's a planned kidnapping, and you have Oliver going like, "No, Dinah, I did not plan a planned kidnapping. No, no, no." Slade, this is Deathstroke. This is a bit confusing. Why you hide Deathstroke all things? Does he really know who we are? Yes, he knows who we are, clearly. But no, I did not plan a surprise fake kidnapping so you could kick some people's ass. Also, I'll be like, ask Bruce, because it'll be way too much paperwork. I'm like, simple, ask Bruce. He's probably happy to, do a fake kidnapping plan thing. He's probably he's probably happy to have Robin get the Bat family go, shoot, leave Gotham. The Savage of the Woods, that was fine. That was a neat one. And then the last Green Arrow story, that one's a bit confusing. At the beginning, I was like, okay, kind of neat. He's on the island and that whole thing. And then, like, the ending happens where, like, a young Oliver gives old Oliver an arrow where the old Oliver burns himself alive. I never really got, I was like, what is this? What's going on? And then the final one, which is called Tap Tap Tap, which is a tribute to Danny O'Neill, who was a comic book writer who passed away last year. And he has a very he is very linked to the history of Green Arrow, with the Green Arrow Green Lantern book, with making Roy Harper a druggie, because what the book was, it was a social commentary book in the 70s, telling kids, hey, this is what's happening in the world. And there's always this infamous one, which is where they were tackling racism, once again in the 70s, where a African American walks to Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and he says, "You have helped the red skins, the blue skins, the purple skins, and the orange skins, and all these other skins. But what have you done for the black skins?" And I always get the greens when it's done together. But Green Lantern disses himself away from the man, and Oliver's like, "Hold on a second, what the fuck?" And it's interesting knowing how relevant that story is, and that book came out in the 70s, which is very surprising. But yeah, this is a really good but Tap to Tap is a neat tribute. It's a tribute with no words. It's just this book is just really well put together. A couple okays, or prefer more than others, and you got the humor side of things. I think all the stuff doing with Oliver and Black Canary, all the stuff doing with Oliver and his crew, was kind of neat. But yeah, this is a really good tribute. This is really well put together.